first off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessors, transmitting masters, and everyone here for this opportunity to continue to explain, talk about this, the Maitreya Disaster Rescue Sutra. Okay. Last time we got up to this point. Let's see. So we're going to start from the second to the last line here. All right. So this section is about the three treasures and cultivation. So just two more lines here. Okay. So let me go back to, here. Okay. All right. So basically, it says 虚听邪人胡说话，老酸一马念无声. Okay. So 虚听 means to stop listening, or don't listen to. 邪人, 邪 is like evil or wicked or whatever, and then ren is people. So, so it's, you could say, yeah, whether they're evil or people who have, in general, I mean, to be more broader would be, people who have false views, who don't, well, this would be like pretty much most common people or ignorant people, if you will. Okay, so, but anyways, and then hu so wa is like to, speak nonsense, say stuff that's, okay. All right, and then lao suan is to tightly restrain. Okay, and then ima is kind of describing our mind. Our mind is kind of like a horse, maybe like a wild horse. It's like running around, prancing about, and because we have like these nonstop thoughts, right, that keep popping up, and that take us all over different directions everywhere. Okay, and then nian wu sen, basically nian could mean like thoughts, and then wu sen is to not give rise to. Okay, so not give rise to the thoughts. Okay, so let's see. All right. So basically, we don't want to listen to those who are ignorant or delusional, right? Who have the false views, right? False views, right? Buddha says, the right view. The right view is understanding the Four Noble Truths, right? That's one thing, and then like knowing, understanding, or accepting karma, okay, the cause and causality. Okay, so people who pursue wealth, fame, fortune, power, pleasure, special abilities, and all these things, right, that an enlightened being would not pursue. Okay, so these are referring to those people. So that's pretty much most people, common people, and so this includes those who don't understand principles or criticize the true principles. Right, sentient beings have an ignorant tendency. Once they have some knowledge or ability, they think they are the best and do not want to give that up, right? Even if it means they will continue to reincarnate, right? They think they know better, right? They say, oh, I'll enjoy myself now, and maybe they don't really think about or believe in, the soul or reincarnation, right? So anytime we encounter these people or their words, right, it's a test of our wisdom. Make sure to control our mind, and not let it wander or be led astray by temptations or whatever, these people might say, oh, yeah, why don't you go buy a new car, buy lots of stuff, or here, try to make money, in the stock market or gambling or whatever, these types of things. Okay, so and so as we know, right, this is the Dharma ending age. We're in the Dharma ending age, which means that there will be many, besides, most people like because today it's very, you can say materialistic. It's no longer, it's very materialistic. And so, that's what they pursue, right? And so, you know, there also will be like false masters, okay, false teachers that appear. They may have certain powers, to, you know, whether to heal, right? Heal people, or to let you maybe turn a huge profit, or give you certain powers. Right? These are all false masters, right? For sentient beings, that is the ignorant masses, right? They are just being led down the path of karma and suffering by these, you know. So, you know, it's not that. Everything is up to us whether we follow them or not. Okay. For cultivators, we are not only being tempted or tested by these false masters, we are also tested by false Maitreyas and false teachers. Okay, so these are most likely asuras, right? Asuras is one of the three upper paths of reincarnation. Okay, so besides humans and devas, you know, then you have asuras. Okay, so asuras, they've cultivated too, but the problem is they're kind of lacking in the virtue department. Okay, so they get angry, things like that, and they may be greedy. Okay, so these are asuras. Now, but asuras, they might pretend to be, you know, the patriarch, the Maitreya, or holy teacher. All right, so the thing is, though, asuras, they also have a mandate. Okay, so a heavenly mandate, you know, from Lamu to do what they do, which is to basically tempt people, or for asuras is probably mostly to tempt cultivators, right? To test. Yeah, well, I mean, but yeah, they're trying to tempt cultivators, basically trying to entice cultivators to follow them and become asuras too. So join their ranks, okay? Join their army, so to speak. However, you know, they can only affect those who have not gotten rid of the three poisons. For example, you know, greed, anger, delusion, or ignorance. Because their weapon is to use the three poisons against us, right? So whether it's greed, we can become tempted to seek certain abilities or powers, or seek wealth, or seek anything, right? So they can use that against us okay. So if we are greedy, depending on what we're greedy for, they will tempt us with the objects of our desires, right? Our anger and rage, the asuras just love it, right? Because they actually, asuras, they like to fight, okay? So so they will encourage us to become more angry. Delusions and ignorance, right? The asuras will try to confuse us, muddy the waters of our mind, to shake our confidence and faith, so that we do not know what is true and what is false. So this is, you know, we are in kind of dangerous. Well, dangerous. I mean, scary times. I mean, when we have to encounter these things, asuras and the like, to trying to get us to stop cultivating, you know, to start pursuing the material stuff, start so that we'll still fall into or remain in the cycle of reincarnation. Because they do this because they actually get merit. They get merit when they're successful. Okay. And so it's kind of like they're like the dark force, if you will, that trying to do this. And then so the light force is, you know, the angels and the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, saints, all those. So we have to pick. We should choose the right side, okay? Because the asuras, they have to reincarnate too. I mean, so it's not they don't transcend. They haven't transcended. They're kind of like, you can say, devas who are in celestial heaven. So they have a limited time there as well before they have to reincarnate. All right. Now, so they may say many of the right things that we know and accept, right? But at the same time, they may say some of the things that are not true, right? But we may not necessarily know it, right? So the problem is when we have attachments to forms, right? We are attached to the idea that when we have a channeling visitation in the temple and they announce that they are such and such a Buddha, that we believe it and we accept it. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, that's because I guess maybe, you know, we've seen, for those of us anyways, who have, you know, experienced or attended these Dharma classes where we have the channeling by the Buddhas and saints. We've seen plenty of that, and so we, you know, we've gotten used to it. We come to accept that, but we have to be careful. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so however, a holy teacher also said that, you know, if the Buddhas tell you something to do something that is wrong, or, you know, doesn't follow the principles, then you should not listen to them, right? So we have to overlook the forms and listen to the principles. Right, that's why it's so important to learn the principles in class. That's why, you know, that's what we teach. Even the Buddhas, right? They teach us the principles, and then so that's what we teach everyone. We have to know what the principles, the true principles are. Once we know the true principles, then when we hear something that doesn't kind of align with these true principles, then we know that that's something that we should not do, or we should avoid that. Because then that's what, you know, you might call a deviant, well, so, I mean, it's deviated from that true principles. Okay, so once we know what the true principles are, then when we hear something, right, that goes against it, we know not to listen to it, or at least it should raise some doubts in our mind about whoever is, you know, the authenticity of the person saying it. Now, it could also be that maybe, well, I mean, I don't know if this, you know, if the Buddhas themselves will actually, you know, test us that way as well, but definitely asuras can do that. Okay. Okay. So as far as I know, you know, we have not had any official channeling visitation that's like this, you know, where it's so, you know, someone who claims to be a Buddha but is not, you know. Okay, so. However, we have experienced other people who appear to be channeling. Okay, so this is not, because we have what we call the talents, or the holy medium. Okay, so they are the official, or the girls who can channel the Buddhas and saints. Okay, so basically, if anyone else channels, it's not them. And anyone that's, you know, these other people who channel and they claim to be Buddha or saint, then that should raise a red flag, okay? Because that's not the proper way that the Buddhas would channel. In fact, holy teacher told us that. It's like, well, you know, at least the Buddhas will only channel through the holy mediums, right? Okay, so, and then this is also true for people who claim that they are a messenger, passing on instructions from holy teacher or other Buddhas, right? So they say, well, you know, they claim that the Buddhas or whoever Buddhas communicate with them, and, you know, say, oh, okay, you have to tell other people about this. That is also something you got to be careful of. All right, so first of all, you know, we have to see if this person is a true cultivator, right? If they have not taken the vegan vow, then it's very doubtful. But even if they have, right, ultimately we must distinguish the true from the false in the things that they say. Okay, so we have to kind of look beyond, don't look at the who it is, but what it is that they're saying. Okay, so whether it is in accord with the true principles. So again, we have to emphasize again that, you know, we must learn the true principles as a way to protect ourselves, right? So all this learning that we're doing is, you know, it's not just book knowledge, it's not just, you know, academic. It really is, it can help us in the future, okay? So that we don't fall for, you know, whatever these temptations or the tricks by asuras or whoever that might be testing us or trying to lead us astray. So we got to make sure that we know what's the right principles and what's the right path, the way that we should be going, and not deviate from that. Okay. All right. Let's see, where's my mouse? Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so the next line says, 老母降下真天咒 okay 用心持念有神通 okay, so Lamu, of course, again, is God, and then Jiangsha is to lower or descend, and then Tianzhou, Zhen Tian, okay, so Zhen Tianzhou, or some version have Zhen Yan Zhou, okay, Yan, Yan means is like spoken, right, spoken, so this refers to the mantra, okay, so obviously a mantra is normally it's spoken, so Yanzhou, that's okay too. If it's Zhen Tianzhou, it's referring to that heavenly mantra or the divine mantra. Okay, so either way it's okay. But I think usually we see it's well, I don't know. I've seen both actually, but all right. And then 用心, right, is to diligently or attentively or sincerely. Okay, 持念 again, keep in mind constantly or recite. And then 有神通. Okay, so 有 means to have, and then 神通. 神通 means, it can mean like having those special supernatural abilities, for example. But in this case, it's talking about a different type of 神通, which the supernatural or those other abilities like special powers, those are kind of mundane type of abilities. Okay, so this sentong though is kind of opening up a channel to heaven, or with our Buddha nature or with heaven. Okay, so basically we are linked and we are kind of in harmony with heaven. Okay, and with our Buddha nature. All right. So that's what this sentong is talking about here. Let's see. Okay. All right. Okay, so Lamu has made available to us the three treasures. So here, right, this is then talking, we earlier it talked about the first treasure and the third treasure, and then this is the second treasure, right, the mantra. Okay, the heavenly portal, right, the hand seal, right, they were mentioned earlier. Now this is the divine mantra, which encompasses the absolute heaven, or the heaven of truth, the celestial heavens, and the tangible material world. Okay, so so that as part of the mantra, that's what it's. If you understand what it's the meaning of it, that's what it encompasses, and it hints at who has the mandate of the heavenly post for the white era. Okay, so the mantra indicates a way for us to cultivate, but this mantra or incantation is sometimes called a silent mantra, right? Because it's not found on the written page, right? It's not spoken out loud, right? So we always say, this cannot be spoken out loud, right? Only if we recite it only in our mind, okay? Now, even if it is written down, okay, it serves no, or any of the three treasures really, if they're written down and they're revealed, it doesn't serve any purpose really. But those who see it, right, might be deluded into thinking that they know some kind of secret, right? Because this is a heaven secret, right? The three treasures. So problem is why I say they're deluded into thinking that is because, people tend to think that knowledge is power, right? So they've got some knowledge and they can do something with it. But in this case, the knowledge of the three treasures, for those who have not received the Tao, really doesn't do anything for them. Okay. In fact, knowing without receiving the Tao becomes an impediment or an obstacle, because once they have this knowledge, they would feel that they don't need to receive the Tao. Because they say, "Oh, I already have your secret, right?" And what's more, what else is there to it? So people generally explain saying, "Oh, why we can't reveal the three treasures is because there's spirits around and you don't want them to hear it, whatever." But actually, this is the real reason for people not revealing it to people is this reason, because they become attached to this knowledge and they think that's it, that's the truth. Okay, so that's all they need. But in fact, it doesn't do any good because it doesn't open up the portal. Okay, so portal, you have to go through that ceremony and have an enlightened master to open it, to conduct that ceremony, to do that. So that's why we should not reveal it, because that will actually could prevent people from receiving the Tao, right? Okay, so basically, I mean, I've seen on YouTube, unfortunately, some people, some users, on YouTube, they use it, they set their name or, as the mantra. So obviously they either had received the Tao before or someone else told them the mantra, and they use that as their name. So if they post anything, a comment on a YouTube video, right, it shows up. You can see it. Or they post it as a comment, Now they do this deliberately, right? And they might say some bad things about the Tao. I've had to deal with this myself, right? Because when I post those videos, the songs, whatnot, some of these people, they show up and they post that just to kind of, just because it's, we're not supposed to reveal it, and so they do it on purpose. Now these people, so they may have, they've received the Tao blessing, but they deliberately and openly disclose the three treasures. They're asking for trouble. For one, when we received the Tao, the 10 great vows that we make at the altar, one of them says not to reveal heaven's secret, which is this, the three treasures. So they've broken one or more of the 10 great vows when they receive Tao. So besides revealing heaven's secret, basically they are kind of despising the teachers and predecessors and not being sincere in receiving the Tao in the first place. Or, I mean, they might have been, not insincere when they received the Tao, but then maybe later on something happened while they're in the temple or whatever, and they got turned them off, and it's just they decided that this is bogus. They think it's bogus. All right. So, but anyway, so whatever the reason is, then they end up, being disenchanted with the Tao, say. So they deliberately start to slander or bring harm to the Tao. But this they don't, because they don't believe it, but this is actually a sin. All right. So this is, in fact, one of the 5 cardinal sins is to prevent or interfere with people from receiving the Tao or from cultivating. So if by their postings and revealing three treasures, they will prevent people who would otherwise maybe receive the Tao, that then that's a very serious sin. That's very serious. In fact, that will definitely go to the underworld for that. So that's unfortunate, but that's they brought this on to themselves. So the problem is, how does this happen? And we actually have some duty to not try to make sure that, or do our best so that this doesn't happen. But one of the reasons, and because I see a lot. I mean, I've seen so many people receiving the Tao and participate in many of these ceremonies. Right? It says, we have to be careful who we ferry, who we bring to receive the Tao. Right? If they're not sincere or they do not have faith, then really they are not eligible to receive the Tao. Right? And we should just, they can just let them go on their way. In the past, I've seen what happens when we try to inveigle. Inveigle, that means to persuade by deceit or flattery. But it usually is not flattery, but it's kind of deceit. I mean, deceit is not a big deceit, but basically, just saying, oh, this is the same as going to a regular temple and, just burning some incense and asking for, blessing, but it's that's not the complete story. So we really shouldn't just say that. But sometimes also people twist their arms, right, to really try to almost kind of force them. But that's really against the Tao. So So we definitely cannot force people to receive the Tao. Now, okay, so they may not have had any interest in the Tao, but because people tell them that it's like going to the temple and praying for good fortune, right? So in Chinese we say bye bye, right? So a lot of times we say, oh yeah, just tell them that it's the same as bye bye. Okay, so like going to a regular temple. Problem is, when we say that, that sets an expectation in their mind because they know what that means. They go to other temples, regular Buddhist temples or whatever, and that's what they do. And so that's what they expect when they come here. And so, but then, then we say, well, okay, so you have to register your name, right? Make a merit contribution and go through this short ceremony. So that's when they start kind of pushing back a little bit. Some of them, saying that, well, that's not what they expected. And then we try to, say, oh, don't worry, you're here. You should go through with it. It'll be very quick. Okay. And some people do go through with it, but I've seen some stand up in the middle of the ceremony and refuse to take the vows. I mean, as soon as they hear that they're making a vow, they say, whoa, this is not what this is not what you told me. Okay. So, and then they leave. Okay. So, now, so for actually the English speaking people who are receiving the Tao, they don't know that really they're making a vow. I mean, we're really supposed to explain beforehand that you will make these vows, make certain vows. Okay. So, that's really our duty, our responsibility. I mean, we shouldn't try to, because those who, they believe, they have the faith, it's fine for them. They'll do it. But it's really those who don't really, they don't have the faith. They don't have that, they don't believe. And so, I think it's really doing a disservice for the Tao community, the temple, and those people to actually get these people to receive the Tao, because it's not helping them, and it's not helping anyone. Okay, and it could be worse. Okay, okay. So I don't want to. I'm not like trying to air some dirty laundry here, but I do want to emphasize that there are consequences to our actions. Right. So when these people leave the temple, they are leaving with a bad impression of the temple and the people in the temple and the Tao. So then now it really is bye-bye. Okay, the English bye-bye. Okay, goodbye. I hope never to see you again. And that's the best case scenario. So the worst case scenario is when they start saying bad things or worse about the Tao and the temple. Okay, so like those people who post the mantra on YouTube. Okay, so kind of like actually, I was at a Tao receiving ceremony in California at the time. Two people were receiving the Tao. One person stood up during the ceremony and kind of refused to go on with it. However, after some cajoling by the transmitting master and whoever, the person reluctantly completed the ceremony. Okay, but later on, I heard that this person was out there saying bad things about the Tao in the temple. Okay, so he, you can say, where's the wisdom in forcing someone to receive the Tao? I mean, we think that, we're trying to save them, but in the end, we cause them more harm than good, because they end up committing a grave sin, and they're gonna likely ending up in the underworld. Okay, to suffer for that. All right, so the introducer and the guarantor and the transmitting master, they all bear some responsibility. Okay, so this is, as an introducer, we do have a responsibility that, right? Because we also kneel in front of the altar too, as the introducer and guarantor, to say that this person I'm bringing to receive the Tao deserves to receive the Tao. They are worthy. But if we have a misjudge, we misjudge their character, then we're going to be partly responsible. Okay, so we should be careful. The person would have been better off if we didn't put them in that situation in the first place, because instead of them having a good impression, or perhaps even a neutral impression of the Tao, that they, in addition to the sin, they have a bad impression, which they may harbor for many lifetimes. right, and prevent them from receiving the Tao in the future. So we really have to be careful, be respectful of others and be harmonious, just be harmonious and, follow the affinity. If they don't have that affinity, then just let it go. Okay, so sorry, that's kind of like, got on my soapbox there, but this is because I've seen this too many times, and so I just have to say this. All right, so once again, we must sincerely and silently, getting back to the sutra then, sincerely and silently recite the mantra, hold fast to the heavenly portal. Right? When we do so, we open an invisible channel to heaven, and when we are in danger, heaven will help in the sense that our wisdom and awareness will expand and be able to guide us in any situation. Right? So really, our Buddha nature, and we say heaven, and we talk about Buddha nature. It's really, you can say in this sense, it's one. It's the same thing. Okay. So it's really our Buddha nature that will that will help us. Okay, so the word sentong, right, generally means special, supernatural, transcendental powers, but this is, we're talking about this other thing here. Cultivation and transcendence of life and death is not by way of supernatural powers, right? So those there are these 6 transcendental powers that a Buddha has. The 6th is one where basically there's no the technical is there's no outflow, but they don't have to reincarnate. Okay, so but the other 5 powers, it's like divine vision, divine hearing, all these things. Those are, you could say, for most people, some people who cultivate or practice these, they can have these powers, but it doesn't last, and it doesn't allow them to transcend life and death. Okay, so these supernatural powers are called the 旁门左道, or heretical or deviant ways. So the true sentong means that we are connected to and have an open channel with heaven, and we have an expansive wisdom and awareness. Okay, actually, there's a story of this person who, this was in China at the time of the 18th patriarch, Suzun, and this person, he had the 5 transcendental powers. Okay, how he got that, I don't know, through practices, whatever, and I guess he had heard about the Tao, or someone's introduced him to receive the Tao, and basically what 18th patriarch told him is that, well, if you receive the Tao, you're probably going to lose those 5 abilities, those 5 powers, transcendental powers. And so are you sure you want to receive the Tao? Because, of course, receiving the Tao means that he will get the 6th. The 6th means to transcend life and death. Okay, so he agreed. But I guess maybe he wasn't too sure whether, he would actually lose those other powers. And so went through the ceremony, and after the ceremony, then he realized that, he no longer had those 5 other powers. And so then he started complaining to 18th Patriarch. Patriarch said, well, I already explained to you that you would likely lose those powers when you receive the Tao. But you've gained the 6th power, which is even greater, which means that you don't have to reincarnate. So anyways, that's something to keep in mind. I mean, actually, but once a Buddha's, they have these other powers actually. So, okay, so this is the last line. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so right, so that completes this section here on the 3 treasures and cultivation. And so the next, okay, so the next section, I'm not sure if it's more than this, but it's at least these 7 lines here. It's about, you can say, I call it kind of heaven's support of the White Era mission. Okay, so what, it's not just humans, right? Us as cultivators who are propagating the Tao and trying to execute or carry out this mission of universal salvation, but in heaven, or basically heaven is also, heaven in terms of like all these divine and celestial beings coming to help. All right. So that's what this is about. Okay. So, again, there's, okay, well, we'll get to that one. Let's see. Okay. So, basically, the because universal salvation, right, of the three realms, which is the realm of earth, the realm of the celestial heavens, and the realm of the underworld. Okay, so this is a collaborative effort between heaven and the white era cultivators. That's us. Okay, so what we can see is really just a small portion of everything that is going on in support of the mission, right? Because we only see with our eyes, unless we have the yin-yang vision where we can see the spiritual realm, we only see the people, okay? But there are other divine beings that are involved, okay? So, we think that the physical world is pretty big, but the spiritual realm is even bigger, okay? So, and the Buddha, saints, sages, angels, right, they're mostly operating in that spiritual realm, all right? So, okay, but actually, okay, so this line, 满天星斗都下世, and then 五方列仙下天宫. Okay, so 满 is full of, right? So, or 10 is sky or heaven. So in this, okay. So, and then 星斗 refers to stars, and then 斗 is all, and then 下世 is to come to this world. Okay, so this is referring to, it could be referring to the, this is saying that all the stars that we can see in at night, they each represent like a celestial being. Okay, so they're I don't know how many there are. They're countless numbers. Okay, but they're all coming down. So it's referring to the celestial beings. They're coming down to the world to help. And then 五方 is the 5 directions, and then 列仙, 5 directions means like, north, south, east, west, and then center, okay? So, and then 列仙 is like all the immortals, right? They all descend from, basically, 天宫 is like heaven, okay? So they're coming down from heaven to help with this mission. Okay. All right, so during this time of universal salvation, the stars, quote-unquote stars, are all vowed to descend and be born in the world to help with the mission. Right, the stars represent all the people who previously had attained Tao and returned to heaven during the green and red eras. Okay, so I mean, so divine beings, yeah. So divine beings actually are the beings that, yeah, they're in heaven. I guess I use celestial beings as meaning the ones that are in like the celestial heaven. Okay, so there could be like saints there too, and they could also come to help as well. So for example, right, earlier in the sutra it talked about those holy soldiers, right? The 神兵. Okay, so and then we talked about that they're also included in here. So they also, right, those people during the time of the 18th patriarch, matriarch, they, as soon as they received the Tao, they're also gung ho. They're just like, they knew that was their mission. Okay, so and so when they returned to heaven, I guess most of them, they would have left this world already, and then so they could come back, okay, to help out again. And today, so those who are cultivating and actively supporting the temple and the Tao affairs are included here as well. So we are also, in fact, the hope is that everyone who has come to the world with vows will fulfill their vows and their mission. Right? So we should not underestimate ourselves because we are here to fulfill our vows. Basically anyone who's received the Tao and they're staying in the Tao, they keep coming to the temple, they keep learning, come to classes, and they progress in the Tao, whether maybe they become temple hosts, master, lecturers, transmitters, etc. These, or just maybe just staff members that are always, willing to help out. And I mean, not necessarily dedicate 100% of their time, but at least to do their best to help with this mission, then you can say that these people are, probably have come to this world with a vow, based on a vow to help, rather than coming based on reincarnation. Okay, so many of the people who attained Tao at the beginning of the White Era, right? So there were like 30 million people or so who received the Tao in China during the time of the 18th Patriarch. Right? Many of them probably have chosen to be born again to help carry out the universal salvation mission. Right? In the process, they can cultivate more and perform more merits, which will only help to elevate them spiritually and attain a higher level of peerage. So in the end, when we go back, we'll talk about a little bit later about the there's this Longhua assembly after this, when Maitreya comes back to this world. But that's, attaining peerage is like, basically seeing what our achievements are, okay, based from our virtue and our merits, okay. And so that kind of gives us, you can say it's like a position, okay, in heaven, okay. So, so because universal salvation is such a great mission, right, all divine and celestial beings of the 5 directions are instructed by Lao Mu to help. So they also have left heaven either to be reborn in the world as humans or remain in the spiritual realm to help with this mission. So not all of them are born in, as a human. Okay, so they might still be in the spiritual realm to help. Okay, because the problem is being born as a human, right? There's a danger in that, humans can go astray and then we can lose our way. Okay, so that's the danger. There's a risk. I mean, unless we are like a great bodhisattva or a Buddha, who will not get lost in this world. Anyone else, it's possible to get lost. Okay, so maybe some choose not to, take this path, right? Because so for example, they may help support and protect the people propagating the Tao, or they may support Tao affairs in the temple when people are receiving the Tao, or when there are classes, right? The difference is that although they are also performing merits, the best way to cultivate and accumulate more merits is in human form. Okay, so yeah, in the spiritual realm, yes, they can do some things, but it's probably not as much in terms of merit that can be performed as we can in the human world, right? Because they cannot, let's say, ferry people. I mean, they might be able to kind of influence in a way, or make the conditions, change the conditions such that some people might be more willing or are able to receive the Tao, but they can't ferry people themselves. And so that's only us humans, we can do that. Okay, so we, there's more merit, you could say, if you want to quantify the merits, there's more merit in doing these things. And so overall, so it's kind of like there's pros and cons, right? Okay, so if it's Lao Mu's wish, right, to save all sentient beings before the final calamity. Okay, so the final calamity, right? But remember that there are 3 conditions for people to be ferried, right? They must have the affinity, they must have the faith and sincerity, right? And they must be willing to make vows. So we all have experience with people who are not willing to receive the Tao. In fact, that's probably the vast majority of our experience. So unfortunately, not everybody will be or can be saved in this cycle, right? The cycle of 129,600 years that we're in right now. This white era, or this universal salvation, happens only once every cycle. So, so nevertheless, we have to try our best and do what we can, right? It's just too easy to become lost in this world. And that's why there will always be another cycle. I mean, unfortunately, yeah, the cycles, who knows, we don't know how long these cycles have been going on for, and it could be infinite. Okay, so if there are always sentient beings, then there will always be cycles. All right, but at the end of this cycle, there's going to be a final ranking, okay, which takes place at the Longhua Assembly, and this occurs after the final calamity. Okay, so even though people may have attained the level of, say, sages, saints, and bodhisattvas during the red and green eras, right, the previous eras, if they do not cultivate, perform merits, and fulfill their vows during the white era, then it's possible that they may not even return to their, they might not return to their original position that they had, or they might even go astray completely, that they fall into the cycle of reincarnation again. So so that was the danger. So the people, so it is said that during the red and the green eras, I don't know, they use a number, like 400 million. I mean, I don't believe necessarily in these numbers exactly, but however many there were of these people, cultivators, during those last two eras, that, you see basically attained the Tao. Okay, so they've returned to heaven, and gained some position there. That they all come down during this white era to help. Okay. Once again, it's, whether they come as a human, be born as a human, or they still remain in the spiritual realm, that's, we don't know how many, choose which one, which path. Okay. So, but I haven't, I haven't personally heard of any example where, any of these have maybe lost their way completely. But I did hear this story about, I think it was a celestial deva, okay, so, who was reborn in the world several times, seeking, looking for the Tao. And this person, I think, was a nun or in a few of her lifetimes, and finally she was born in the right circumstances where she could receive the Tao. However, she had forgotten her vow. Okay, so even though she received the Tao, she did not cultivate. Instead, I guess she pursued a life of enjoyment, right? Until one day she was, I think, killed in a car accident. I think maybe Transmitter Lin can correct me if I'm wrong about the story. But and the immortal of longevity, when we say the longevity Buddha, or so he's kind of in charge of all the celestial heaven, the devas. Okay, so took her back, basically. That car accident, which took her life, basically took her back, because if she had continued with her life, she would have created a lot more karma and then fallen into that cycle of reincarnation again. So by ending her life short, then she could perhaps get another chance in the future. So this is kind of based on my recollection of what the story was. But okay, but now let me see. Okay, so but there's I can give you an example of someone who returned to their original position in heaven. Okay, so they came to this world in this white era to help out, and then they went back to heaven. Okay, so and basically. This Jinghua Dashen, that's my mother. Okay, so in fact, it's very coincidental maybe. Today is the anniversary of her returning to heaven. Okay, so 17 years ago. Okay, so in 2003. And basically it was one day after she turned 67, she returned to heaven. All right, so that's today. So it's very interesting. Coincidences, there are no coincidences, right? Somehow I didn't even plan this, that I would be talking about this, today on the anniversary, but it happened this way. All right. So basically, she had fulfilled her vow and returned to her original position in heaven as an immortal. When we had a sandwriting reunion or communion, right, with her in 2004, Holy Teacher first composed a song for her, which is what you see here. In this song, it says that she was welcomed back to heaven by divine beings and returned to her original position, right? So that's that last line there, that she fulfilled, you can say, yeah, she fulfilled her vows, and then she returned back to her original position in heaven, which is this immortal, okay? So I use the term immortal. We use the term immortal for 大仙 because we're familiar with the 8 immortals, right? They're all 大仙, so that's why we use that. But I guess the implication is that as an immortal, they don't have to reincarnate. Okay. So, it's interesting also, there's something interesting that I kind of realized as well, that many people who fulfilled their vows died as a result of illness, in this case, cancer. And a lot of them, they die of cancer. So like my mom died of cancer. Our senior transmitter, Cui, or he's now, 乐道真君. Okay, so he's at a higher position. But he also died of cancer. Our predecessor, he also died of cancer. Okay, so my take is that, well, they basically, and then there are probably others. This is probably the final act of paying off their karmic debts. Okay, so because even though we try to pay off, or we're supposed to pay off all our karmic debts in this life if we expect to, attain Tao, which means to go to heaven and transcend life and death. And so, by dying in this way through some illness, whatever, that lets them pay off those debts. Okay, because if it's possible, okay, if it's possible that we can go back with our debts, with our karmic debts, probably I would suspect that maybe that's possible too. That we will have to come back one day and pay them off again. Okay, pay them off anyways. So, Holy Teacher said that when we go back in this white era, right, we go back to heaven, he can only guarantee at most 10,800 years for us. Okay. Now, it could be shorter than that. It depends on our merits and virtues. Okay, so, but after that time, then we have to come back to the world again, be reborn in the world. However, if we achieved a status such as an immortal, a bodhisattva, saints, sages, then probably there's, we have enough achievement, if you will, the virtues and merits that we don't have to come back. Okay, and probably have already paid off all our karmic debts. Okay, so, all right. Okay, so the next slide. Okay, so this is probably the last slide we'll do today. Okay, so 各方城隍来对号，报事灵童查得清. Okay, so 各方 means each direction, place. Okay, so 城隍. Okay, 城隍 is like a city god. So you probably heard about like the kitchen god, right? The kitchen deity, or the god of the hearth. Okay, so that's like everyone's home has one. Okay, so, and then, but there's also like this god or deity that's, you can say is responsible for a city or district. Okay, so that they're called 城隍爷. Okay, and then 来对号. Okay, so basically they're checking. Okay, okay, so we'll talk about what they're checking up on next. Okay, and then 报事灵童 is what we kind of call this reporting angel, okay, for lack of a better name, because they're like these angels that, at least for people who receive the Tao, from the day we receive the Tao to the end of our lives, that they are reporting on what we do, okay, to heaven. Okay, so, and then so the Cha De Qing says, they inspect, they monitor us. They see what we're doing. Okay. All right. So, okay. So here, the Cheng Huang Ye. Okay. So these deities of the cities or districts, they're kind of like the local officials who keep track of the people living in an area. Okay. The area that they're responsible for. There's also others like Tu Gong, which are which are also deities that are of a specific place. Okay, so one of the responsibilities of these city gods is to help locate, you could say, good families of virtue or families that have received the Tao, so that all the immortals, saints, Buddhas, angels, whoever are being reborn are born to appropriate families, right? Because just before we said that these celestial and divine beings are coming to this world to be reborn, to find, to help with the mission. And so these deities are there to help locate, identify appropriate families for them to be born in. Okay. So in this cases, right, they're not born into the family because of karma or some kind of karmic affinity. They're born in a family because of, it's just through this kind of arrangement, okay? Because they're coming down with a vow, okay? We said before that even bodhisattvas can become, the lower level bodhisattvas, they can become lost and forget their vows if they are brought up in the wrong environment and do not have the chance to be awakened. Right, so the city god, they have an important responsibility, making sure that they're born, they can be born in the right place. And now there's another explanation that says, city gods, they also keep track of like people's official names. So that's, when we receive the Tao, we have to give our official name, and for us, we say, give your birth name. Okay, so that there's that will always be correct, your birth name, because you're born with that, and because when we're born, our name is first registered in the Book of Death in the underworld. Okay, so when we receive the Tao, we can use that name. If we use that name, then they can look it up and say, they can remove our name from the underworld, and we can be registered in heaven. So if we use a fake name, that's going to be a problem, right? So we we cannot use a fake name when we're receiving the Tao. So we use our original name. Now, sometimes though, if we move to another country, maybe we immigrate, and then the name gets changed or whatever. So that's an official name change. Then that probably we could probably use that as well, because basically, I guess these deities, they kind of keep track of the official name change too. I don't know, but anyways, but usually, we always try to say, use your original name. Okay, so then the Basalintong, right? We call them the reporting angels. One explanation says that they also help the city gods in determining which households are suitable, but really their responsibility is, after we receive the Tao, then they report on our conduct. Not just our conduct, but things that we say and what we think as well, our thoughts, what's in our mind. Okay, so we have to be careful. Okay, we shouldn't think that we can get away with something even if nobody knows about it, right? Especially if it's only in our mind, no one else knows about it. Well, they know about it, these reporting angels, right? And they'll report it to heaven. Basically, all our activity gets reported to heaven, and there's an account in heaven. There was that Hunyan Gu Ce that was talked about in an earlier line. That's this book that contains all our activity. Okay, so that's all recorded, and it's through the reporting of these reporting angels. Okay, so it records all our merits and demerits. There was once a visitation by one of these Bao Si Ling Tong, these reporting angels, okay, channeling visitation. And basically he or she, I don't know if they have gender, but they basically list, it's a boy actually, yeah, so it's male. But anyways, he listed 100 things, or at least 100 things that we could get demerits for. So this is something that we have to, one day you should probably take a look at that list to see what things that we are doing that maybe we're getting a lot of demerits for. The problem is we might be thinking that we're accumulating merits, but at the same time we're getting a lot of demerits without knowing it, and perhaps the demerits are offsetting, are over, we might have more demerits than merits, in which case, that's like, it's not to say that they will offset the other, but if we have a lot more demerits than merits, then, that's a problem. Okay. Then we might actually, get punished for that. Okay. So, I think let's see. I think, because there's sharing going on right after this, so I think we will stop here for today, and we'll continue next week. Okay, so if I had said anything wrong or not well enough, I asked the Buddhas and Maitreya Buddha for forgiveness, and also the corrections from transmitting masters and lectures. Thank you. Are there any questions?
One thing you talk about, when everybody receives Tao, we need to follow the affinities. We don't want to force people to receive Tao. That's very important. Holy teacher always remind us all the time, we need to follow affinities. Because sometimes the time is not up, or the person affinity is not mature yet. Then it's very hard for them to receive Tao. Like you said, lecture Taijin said, because once we force people to receive Tao, it might create bad karma for them. Because some people might say something about the Tao, so will not help them to cultivate in the future. But if they don't receive Tao right now, maybe they can receive Tao down the road, in this lifetime or in the future lives. So that's fine. We would like to follow the affinities. That's very, very important and critical. And then the second thing I want to talk about it. Every one of us, Holy Teacher and all the Buddha keep remind us all the time. Every one of us make a vow in heaven before. So we are not coming by surprise or by accident. We had a mission and duties when we were in heaven. We all have a position there, but we just came down to continue fulfill our vow and fulfill our karmas. To resolve our karmas. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Transmitter Lin.